Hey, good day. Brian Tarian here from the Disability Digest, and welcome to this Facebook Live event. Frequently asked questions is what our objective is to answer the questions that have come in this week. And so this week, there's questions in 4 different categories that I'm going to cover. One is medical record collection and submission. This would apply to anybody that's going through the disability process or has a continuing disability review. Can you draw short-term, long-term disability and pursue your Social Security disability benefits? Will my disability income that I potentially receive affect my spouse's compensation? And a compensation question about how much I can make and keep my disability benefits, specifically pertaining to real estate investment income. That's what we have on tap today. So let's get started. All right, so first of all, let's talk about medical record collection. And I'm going to address this from a couple of experiences that I have seen where individuals have applied for disability. They've taken it upon themselves to collect their medical records from all of their doctors and submit them to Social Security. Now, keep in mind when you go through the disability approval process, or if you're under a review, it is Social Security's responsibility to collect these medical records, but it doesn't always happen. Some of the common breakdowns are this. Social Security will request your medical records from a doctor. That request will get there and it may or may not be delivered. So if they don't have the evidence in the medical records to look at, they don't have the information to make a decision on. So this is a solid way for somebody to submit evidence. Now, I want to add one more little snippet to this. If you're applying for Social Security disability, typically Social Security will go and collect the last 12 months of medical records. But if you're trying to pin down a onset date or a date of disability that may be months before the 12-month time limit that they put on it, this is another great application to get the medical records. So there's 2 benefits that I see. One is you're going to be able to make sure that they have all of the evidence that they need in the file, and by submitting your medical records. 2 is this date that you're trying to pin down. Like, we had a conversation with somebody yesterday who potentially has a November 1st of 2017 date that we're targeting. And if you're just looking at 12 months worth of medical records, you wouldn't get that. So that's the second one. So, all right. So here's another tip on this medical record collection process is, in my opinion, it's just my opinion, I'm not a lawyer, just my opinion from the cases that I've seen get approved, I've seen the best results for people that have actually hand-delivered them in to Social Security. Because it's, some of you can imagine your medical records are quite, lengthy. And if you bring them in and say, here's my medical records for my Social Security, here's my primary care, here's my rheumatologist, here's my counselor, and you submit them and you ask for a receipt for all the pages, then you have confirmation that they're in there. Plus, it just inundates them, and they're, I think that there's also a component to getting results from disability if you just pile on the information and they cry uncle and they say, all right, I got it. So that's my take on medical record collections. Next question is, can you draw short-term, long-term disability benefits while applying for your Social Security, or will it go against your monthly allowance? Excuse me, that's my power cord. I should be all right. The answer is yes, you can. Actually, what I encourage you to do is understand your short-term, long-term disability policy and how it's structured. It's common that a short-term disability policy will go for 6 months or a year, and then it transitions to a long-term disability policy for that will go for like 2 years. So altogether you might get 3 years worth of coverage. Well, the average disability, Social Security disability approval is over 3 years. Of course, we try to get that down by coming through and using our free resources, tools, and strategies, which we do most of the time. But that being said, the statistics are still over 3 years because most people screw it up, that do it on their own, they end up, going to a hearing. So understand what it is. Now, some have they have these like offsets or eliminations where you do have to pay back some funds. So again, you need to understand your policy and how it's written. But it is common again that these long-term disability policies will say, they'll give you 2 years of long-term disability benefits. And also one of the common criteria is that you do need to apply for your Social Security disability, and get that approved. So if you find yourself on short-term disability and thinking, I've been on it a few months, I don't know if I'm going to be able to go back to work, you should really give some consideration to filing for your Social Security disability if you haven't already. Because if you have 3 years of potential benefits and you're trying to get your Social Security disability, income, it could, if you wait, the longer it waits, the longer it takes. So my point is, if you wait until you're 2 years into the process, a year of short-term disability, a year of long-term disability, and then you start your Social Security, because you didn't listen to this, you could go a couple years without income. Not good. All right, let's see. The next question here is, I've got a list here from Bob. Bob writes in, will I qualify and will my spouse's income affect my disability compensation? Well, you mean the first part of it, will I qualify? I have no idea. I have no idea. I mean, there's so many variables to a Social Security case. And even if you have a good case, you have to do it right to get approved. So it's tough for me to answer that part. But we'd be glad to help. It's what we do. If you remember here, just contact us, one of our advocates, for live free disability approval assistance. If you're not, visit us at thedisabilitydigest.com and get started. Will it affect my spouse's, will my spouse's income affect my disability? I don't know if I said that in the beginning. And the answer to that is no. If you are pursuing Social Security disability income, it is an insurance program that is based on your earnings mostly over the last 10 years and how much FICA tax you've paid. So it's based on the fact that you can't work anymore. So it's not a needs-based program. So if your wife or husband earned money or had assets, or you have assets outside of this, it's not going to prevent you from getting your Social Security disability income. All right? It's an insurance program, like an insurance program that you paid into from your company. That's the way to look at Social Security disability. All right. Last question. This seems to be a pretty common theme of individuals that come through here as members that are either involved in real estate, buying, flipping, or want to be. But this is from Scott. He says, I tried several times over a year ago to get the information I need about, keeping my benefits, and it hasn't worked out very well. He goes on to say, I know all about the fact that you can't perform substantial gainful activity, I'll talk to you about that in a minute, and have material participation. He's done his homework. In what you're doing, that it's more than likely defined by Social Security. They allow you to have rental income, we're referring to real estate. But how do they think you're going to get that? You have to talk to people selling property. You have to talk to people who want to be your tenants. You have to definitely be involved. Once it's done, it can be very passive. I currently live and do this work, don't do all this work, I hire it out. But I had to get all this set up to resell my holdings, etc. So he goes on. So I'll recap the question. How do you have real estate income, real estate property, and that income coming in, and that income not count towards your SGA? So I'll give you an example. I'll actually give you two examples, and one that you can actually listen to in the replay. But there's some factors that are involved here, of which Scott's covered some of them. There's the SGA, substantial gainful activity. There's the second piece that I look at called passive income. And then there is the net profit from this endeavor that he has. And then there's really what Scott's contribution would be to this. So these are the points that I'm going to cover. So the SGA, when you are approved for your Social Security disability, you are allowed to earn $880 a month net profit after taxes. Keep your benefits. That's the time of this recording. That's what you can earn, about $10,000 a year. Right? So, and that is looked at, SGA is looked at by the amount of money that you make and the amount of time that you put in. 20 hours or more is also a factor in this. If you exceed that 20 hours, then you're deemed to be over the SGA, right? So I would look at this and say, okay, if you can put all of this together and you're called to have this reviewed and you're doing this and it's taking you 10 hours a week and it's generating you income from that, and that income is from an investment, then you should be okay. If you get in trouble with this, I expect you could get an attorney to get you out of it. But here's what I mean by trouble. And I'm talking about the passive income part. We recently had a Social Security case by a member here, Kathy, who went through the disability approval process and is subject to the same SGA criteria, but scrutinized much more because you're going through it and you go in front of a judge and they review all that. And her rental property income that she had was considered, as it should be, passive income, because it keeps coming in, and the amount of time that she needed to invest in that was really minimal. She had a property manager, she had somebody that did all the work, but it generated income. So this is different type of income than somebody that goes to a local convenience store and is working the 9 in the morning to 1 p.m. shift. That is W-2 income. It's straight up. It's taxable. It's very easy to calculate what your time in and your money out is. This is a different deal, and it's passive income, and it's considered an investment. So I think I feel it's actually a great income source for people that fall into this category if you can do this. So here's the other piece. Let's say that you're managing or you have a significant real estate portfolio. Then it's really going to come down to what is the profit from that, because even though let's say you're generating $5,000 in rental income, you have mortgages to pay, you have the maintenance people you have all your expenses. What's the net on that? And if the net on that is coming directly to you as a sole proprietor, then whatever the net is, if it's over $10,000 a year, it's still passive income. You have to be aware of that. But if you want to shelter it, not shelter it, but legally put it into a legal entity, you could put it into a corporation, so the corporation collects all of your real estate income and you pay all of your expenses out of it, and then you take a check that is entitled to that. Now, if you have a corporation that is stockpiling, huge sums of cash, and you're the only one that's getting an $879 a month check, that's going to raise a flag for sure. I encourage everybody to do things totally by the books, and using a corporation to manage something like this is totally fine. It's legal to do it. So we've talked about a few things: the SGA, passive income, the net profit that you make, your contribution. I'm going to give you one more example, and this will be in the show notes that you can listen to. Had a great conversation with a member here, Michael. And Michael was, or is still, an insurance agent. He went through the disability approval process with insurance renewals that were over $2,000 a month. When you go through the approval process, you're allowed to make $1,080 a month. It's different. Once you're approved, it's the $880. Okay, so I might be a little off in my figures, but it's not more than 5 or 7%, and how much you can make when you're going through, and how much you can when you're approved. So Michael was allowed to go through the approval process with that income, because that income, according to the judge, was from efforts that he had done in the past. It was passive renewal income. In addition to that, Michael was getting new business coming in. And then he tells the whole story, so I'm not going to go through it right here. But he had new business coming in from referrals from his current client base. Well, that was also considered passive income by the judge, and it was allowed. So he was able to go through the approval process with quite a substantial amount of money being earned, and keep his benefits. So now he has his and he's still involved in the insurance business. So the key here I want to make is, in Kathy's situation and Michael's situation, is the passive income. So Scott, great question. Appreciate it. I hope this breakdown is helpful, and good luck in your real estate endeavor. Keep us posted on your success. So that concludes today's programs and FAQs and what we covered. So if you found this helpful, which I hope you did, share the video. Invite some others to come be members here. Like us on YouTube, Facebook, all that stuff. We're like a radio or TV station. We do this programming. It's free. You don't pay for it. We have memberships here that you can, we encourage you to get involved in a membership if you haven't already. Then we have a profile, and we understand where you're at in the disability process, whether you need to get approved or whether you're already approved, and we can help you get approved, or we can help you maximize your benefits with really customized information to you. So we welcome you to come in and become a member. The more members we have, the more sponsors we can attract, and that's what funds this. We're for profit. And of course, with the more sponsorship that we have, the better programming, the more people we can put back to work. We have openings right now here at the Disability Digest. So thank you for your time, attention. Keep the questions coming. We enjoy answering them. Make it a great day. This is Brian Therrien.